Bud Dupree almost killed him.
Game.
God, what a legacy.
Oh, it's a terrible. If we could get, it's one of the scariest looking plays you've ever seen in your life, and he came back in the game. I remember this game. It was awful. Let's hope that Sunday night is better for your sake and everybody else's sake. One way or another, that question sucks because Hembo is a very small man.
50%.
In the meantime, let's go to the Sunday night game, because in this case, it's going to mark the return of Tua Tagovailoa, his first time back since the concussion that scared everybody on that Thursday night. Tua's teammate is Raheem Mostert. He will be on the episode of the Pivot podcast that will be available today, talking about his quarterback's return. Here's part of what he says.
He just comes back, and it's just like an aura around the whole huddle. Like, we had practice with him earlier today, and, like, you could just tell the aura and, like, the demand that he's asking throughout his players, like, his teammates, his brothers. Like, it's different. Like, y'all know that huddle. Y'all know that guy that come in, and y'all like, oh, yeah, we got to rally around this guy. That's definitely Tua.
Again, that's the Pivot, which will be available today. Super quick on this, everybody. RC, I'll start with you. Tua's return. We'll all be, to some degree, holding our breath. Hopefully he is fine and he's ready to go and all the rest of that. What does it mean for the Dolphins, who were so good until he got hurt?
You know what's crazy though? Like, in talking to Raheem Mostert, I didn't expect that answer, Greeny. I expected what we've seen from the field, on the field from Tua, but not his command of the huddle, not his leadership, not what he demands from the rest of his players. And that made me think of him much differently than I did walking into that building. And so now when you look at the way that Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Mike Gesicki were playing, what Mike McDaniels was able to do with Tua Tagovailoa, this puts this team on a different tier to me. I think you'll see the explosion again. I think you'll see the creativity again. I also think that you'll see the success outside from some of the receivers.
Look how much they have missed him. Just look at the numbers on the screen since he got hurt. We're pointing out Teddy Bridgewater got hurt also, who is his regular backup. What does it mean for the Dolphins, Sam?
I think they'll go back to hitting on all cylinders like they did before. The Mike McDaniels experiment worked. When he said on that plane, Tua, I believe in you, I'm going to bring out the best in you. A lot of us didn't actually believe that, but not only did Mike McDaniels did, Tua did, and now his teammates did. That's why Tyreek is there. And so I think you're going to see an offense that in the first 3 games averaged 27 plus points. They're going to do more of the same. Tyreek has not dropped off even in the last few weeks. So I think it's going to be more of the same what we saw before.
And listen, before he was injured, he was making some amazing throws, some accurate throws, contested throws. And I think the confidence, and you just hear from his teammate, the confidence is there in him. So hopefully when he gets back, everything's smooth sailing and they get right back to where they were before his injury.
Look, this is an important game. The record down there, the Steelers, there's a scenario in which if Pittsburgh wins this game, they could be tied for the lead in the division by the time they wake up on Monday morning. But Brooke, you cover the Steelers for us. Let's talk about the other side. Kenny Pickett suffered a concussion last week. What do we expect from them this Sunday night as far as who their quarterback will be?
Well, look, Mike Tomlin wants it to be Kenny Pickett. Sometimes medicine says that it won't be, but all indications are that it's going to be Pickett. He was a full participant in practice yesterday and the day before. I believe that he's going to be meeting to try to clear protocols as early as this morning. The latest that he, I believe, can possibly clear it is before the flight leaves to Miami tomorrow. But all signs are kind of pointing toward him playing, which is a kind of a departure from the last 3 concussions that Steelers players have had in Terrell Edmunds and Levi Wallace and Pat Freiermuth. All of those guys miss the next game. But look, concussions are different. They vary from player to player. Concussion history factors into availability. But the Steelers want it to be Kenny Pickett, and it is trending in that direction.
Very quickly, we'll put the picks on the screen. And RC, you're the only one on the Steelers. How do you see them doing it Sunday night?
I don't know, Greeny. I truly don't know. But I just knew everybody else was going to pick the opposite way. Here's what I'll tell you. I texted Mike T last week when everything was going on with people having to answer questions about me in the locker room. And I told him, I was like, hey, coach, that's my bad, man. I wish you didn't have to do that. And he straight up told me, this is my job. This is what I do. And this is why I was hired. And this is why I was paid. We talked a little bit after the game when they were able to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I just told him, I said, man, I love you. And I said, you are exactly right. You are well compensated to do what you could do better than most people in the world. And so I think that Mike T will get these guys up to play. They understand the magnitude of this game as it pertains to the AFC North, and the Steelers are going to find a way to win, and if not, at least everybody in Pittsburgh will know I picked them.
Fair enough. We'll see. This was that defense last week against Tom Brady and company. Again, they're both quarterbacks. There are a lot of storylines in this game and going into Sunday night, and it is critical because the Dolphins, of course, got off to that good start, and they have fallen since. And then week 4, Jackson was intercepted in the end zone on a 4th and goal late in a tie game against Buffalo. It was his first career 4th down interception, his first thrown under pressure this season. Then last week against the Giants was really the toughest moment. Lamar Jackson turning the ball over twice in the final 3.5 minutes. An interception led to the go-ahead score and a sack fumble on Baltimore's last drive. So they play a very interesting game this week. In a division, no one is running away. The Ravens at 3-3 are actually in first place in that AFC North with Cincinnati, and we'll see what happens. God bless you there, RC. Let's talk about these Ravens and specifically Lamar Jackson. First 3 quarters, tremendous. 4th quarter, not as much. What do you need to see from him Sunday against the Browns?
Well, I think the big thing is you need to see Lamar Jackson finish. You need to see Lamar take control of this team in the most important moments of the game. And let's go back to the Miami game. There's a 3rd and 3 where they have the ball in Miami territory. Lamar Jackson gets 2 carries in a row. They don't get the first down. That turns into a touchdown. Late in the game against the Buffalo Bills, you have a red zone opportunity. You decide to go for it on 4th down instead of kick. Lamar Jackson throws an interception into the corner. And now against the New York Giants, you have an interception and a sack fumble that turns into a recovery for them that seals off the game. When you think about these games, you don't necessarily only remember what the defense did. You remember what Lamar Jackson didn't do. And it's not necessarily just about who he is through 3 quarters. It's about who he needs to be as a complete quarterback throughout the game. When we look at Patrick Mahomes, look at Josh Allen, and some of these big-time quarterbacks, we think about what they do in the most critical moments of games. It started out as postseason. Now it's about just finishing games in the regular season. Lamar Jackson needs to be better, and the Baltimore Ravens need to help him.
How about it? I mean, because there's all the other stuff that hovers around with him. Obviously, we know with the offseason and the contract and everything else.
Well, I think he will figure it out. I mean, going back to last year, and Hembo gave me this stat. Last year, before Lamar Jackson got hurt, he won 7 games. 4 of them required 4th quarter comebacks. And so clutch has never been an issue for Lamar Jackson. There were some questionable decisions. You could talk about maybe some of the interceptions, maybe that questionable call by his coach to go for it on 4th down when you could have taken the points. But I don't think there's going to be an issue with Lamar Jackson. These are little things you can get figured out in practice. They have a veteran team around him. And so I think that the Ravens and Lamar Jackson will get their 4th quarter issues figured out because you can focus on and dial in on those little things, those little execution issues that you can work on in practice.
What do you think, Nate?
Well, he's had 5 turnovers in the 4th quarter alone. So that's something that he needs to take care of the football. And if you touch that football, if you're a quarterback, running back, anyone who handles the ball, the fate of the football team relies in you taking care of the football. So moving forward, I'm not concerned about the Ravens. I think that they'll be okay. But what they have to do is figure out, what are the things that we are doing in the first through 3rd quarter that we can't do in the 4th quarter? Is it the other teams adjusting, or are we just not capitalizing on these opportunities? Because if you're turning the ball over in the 4th quarter, that's losing football. And for them to go where they want to go, and that's into the playoffs, to a Super Bowl, you can't turn the ball over.
As I turn to Brooke, let me put the picks on the screen because this is it's an important game. The Browns may be playing for their season. Every single game this week, everybody is riding in one direction. Everyone here is riding Baltimore this week. And Brooke, the Steelers, the team you cover, could actually wake up Monday morning tied for first place in the division. We'll deal with that. How about Lamar Jackson and the contract and everything else spiraling around it?
I mean, look, I get the sense that Lamar Jackson's contract is not going to be affected by these things that are happening in the 4th quarter because he's going to get it fixed. It's still more about the bottom line, the postseason, how far he can take them. But did you know that it was actually this week, 3 years ago, that Jim Harbaugh said, Lamar, do you want to go for it on 4th down when he was asking him?
Yeah.
To me, they need to get back to that. But the difference in that 2019 season when he had an MVP year, he had better support around him. He had a stronger run game, stronger defense. This team needs to support Lamar so that he can go out there and do what he does best.
Okay, real quick.
Well, just to that point, I mean, he's the team's leading rusher by a lot. And so that you talk about supporting cast, he does need some help.
Yeah, what I would say is Lamar Jackson has more than twice as many rushing yards as any other player on his own team. He needs a little bit